This is section 4.4 of AP Microeconomics. Let's get started. Now it's time to talk about the second market structure of imperfect competition, which is monopolistic competition. Originally, we talked about monopolies. There's also oligopolies. I'll do that next. Now is monopolistic competition, which is most prevalent in our society. We think of restaurants, hotels, salons, etc. So some of the traits to know about monopolistic competition is they do have traits about a monopoly, and they do have some traits regarding perfect competition. Okay. One thing to note is that advertising is something that the College Board will bring up a lot with monopolistic competition because their products are differentiated and they do have some market power. That advertising is very important. If you think about most of the ads on television, that's what you'll see are ads from restaurants, hotels, usually those within monopolistic competition. Also to note, because they are imperfect competition, they are neither allocatively nor productively efficient, so they have no efficiency whatsoever. And they do have something called excess capacity, which is a weakness of theirs. And excess capacity is just a difference from where the firm produces. For instance, if we were producing at profit maximizing quantity here, it's the difference between where the firm produces and from where their productively efficient levels is, which is where their minimum average total cost. So we think about going to a restaurant. How does a restaurant get those average costs down? By filling up those tables and getting that output higher. Well, if they don't fill up those tables, that leaves some excess capacity, which means they will not be at the minimum ATC. And that is a trait of monopolistic competition. The most important thing is always talking about what happens in the long run. Monopolistic competition has zero economic profit in the long run because of those low barriers to entry. Let's look at an example of a monopolistic competition, a firm that is earning a profit and a firm that is earning a loss. It's very important to know how to shade these. When the firm is earning a profit, other firms will enter, low barriers to entry. When the firm is losing money, okay, other firms will exit in the industry. So just like perfect competition, the entry and exit is based on whether or not the firms are profitable or the firms are losing money. There's also some traits we need to understand about our graph because remember, it's not perfect competition where things are a lot easier to analyze. For instance, the price is greater than the marginal revenue. See, at the profit maximizing quantity, this is your marginal revenue. At the profit maximizing quantity, this is your price. So price is greater than marginal revenue. Price is also greater than marginal costs. Remember, they are not allocatively efficient. So price is not equal to MC. In fact, it's greater than MC because of that market power. Now, they still want to profit maximize, which means their MR is equal to their MC. Average revenue does not get brought up a lot, but it is important to know where it is. And average revenue, of course, would be up here at this quantity. Average revenue is here, and your marginal revenue is down here, which means your average revenue is, of course, less or greater than your marginal revenue. Okay. Couple things also to note. The College Board loves bringing these up on the FRQs, and that is the difference between a lump sum tax and a per unit tax. It could also be subsidy, but the important distinction is the lump sum versus the per unit. A lump sum never affects marginal costs. It only affects the fixed costs and the average total costs. That means there is no change to profit maximizing quantity. So it could affect profits and losses, but it will not affect profit maximizing quantity. A per unit tax will affect profit maximizing quantity, and of course will also affect profits and losses because it changes the marginal cost curve. Lump sum tax only affects the average fixed costs. All right. So it's important to know that distinction. Here you see an example of a per unit tax where the marginal cost curve and the average total costs were shifted up. But the most important one is the marginal cost because, as you could see, we have a new MR equals MC quantity. Okay. With the original quantity, the MR equals MC was here. But now with the tax, it is here. That makes sense. A per unit tax would decrease the profit maximizing quantity. Now it's important to talk about monopolistic competition in the long run. Again, you must note that they earn zero economic profits due to those low barriers to entry. Now, we don't use a separate graph for markets and firms. Instead, let's look at an example of a firm on the left, which you see as positive profits. Instead of drawing the market graph and showing how that will affect the normal profits, what we're going to do is understand that when a firm is profitable, what's going to happen? Well, other firms are going to enter in the industry to try to take some of those profits. When that happens, instead of moving the supply curve on the market graph, what we're going to think of is the demand for this product. So if other firms are entering, the demand for my product would decrease. When demand decreases, it shifts left, which of course will continue to shift left until we are earning zero economic profit. And it'll go the other way, as you can see down here. Here we're losing money. So when we're losing money, firms will exit, which improves the demand for my product, which would increase the demand. And when you increase the demand, that will happen until, once again, they earn zero economic profits in the long run. So idea is pretty much the same as perfect competition with regards to profits and losses. The only difference is with perfect competition, we're using the market graph. With monopolist competition, we're just simply moving the demand curve. It is also worth knowing that the elasticity of the demand curve will also change. Because think about it, like let's take a look at this one. If we are losing money and firms are leaving, that means there are fewer substitutes, which of course would make our product less elastic. So that would also have an effect on this, okay? All of these questions are just simply stating what I had talked about, and that should be it for monopolistic competition.